Hello, my name is Lane Kellogg, and this is episode 1 of Econflix, Thinking Like an Economist. Now, I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Lane, obviously, and some of my hobbies include fishing, playing lacrosse, playing video games, and watching a good movie every once in a while. I don't know if you consider that a hobby or not, but but I do like movies a lot. I'd say my favorite one ever is Shutter Island. And like I said, I like to fish. Before I hurt my knee, I used to go about every weekend as much as I could. Just to get out and kind of, get out into nature. Let's see here. And my favorite song ever, I don't know about ever, I kind of switch up songs, but I would say my favorite song is right now Buy Dirt by Luke Bryan. Anyway, so let's get into the economic side of things, why don't we? So as a senior in high school, obviously I will be going to college next year, and the largest thing that I've started to learn and this is my first connection to the economy, as I've started to learn and come to my the end of my high school career. I've learned that spending money is really, really, really easy, and I find that it happens the most when I go out to get food. As a high school student, no offense, but the high school lunches are they're not very appetizing. And it's really hard to remember to pack your own lunch every day. So obviously you want to either go out with your buddies to enjoy some Qdoba or Abos, which costs about $10 a meal. And after time, I found out that adds up really, really quickly if you're not careful. And I think it comes down to marginal decisions. More and more, I find myself each week really thinking about how much money I really want to spend as the week goes on. Especially as someone who I'm not really work capable right now because of my injury and because of lacrosse and being there with the team. It's really hard to have a job during this kind of winter, spring time, and I kind of have to only work in the summer. And that's where I make all my money. So right now, I have to be really careful about where I spend my money, how much I spend, because, like I said earlier, that kind of adds up. And the second connection that I really have to the economy is the opportunity cost of going to college. Like I said, I'm a senior, so college is coming up real quick, right around the corner. And it's something that I kind of, need to be preparing myself for. So obviously the opportunity cost of going to college is quite large. We did an assignment earlier in the year where we did the opportunity cost of college, and I found that with my goal while going through college, and going into a pre-med or medical program, is that I could eventually come out making a lot more money after college. Although I will have a lot more student debt, I will be able to pay it off easier with the income that I could potentially have. And then on the other side of that, there's not going to college, finishing school after high school, and kind of just being on my own, going out into the real world real fast, and kind of just finding a job that pays as much as you possibly can find without a college degree. And through that math, I found that a job that pays for what I think is good now doesn't substantially support me over time, and won't help me be as successful in the long run, and being able to pay off debts and stuff like that. My third connection that I was thinking about is while being in college, I'll have to learn how to budget myself a lot better. College is super busy with classes and sports and all that. And I wouldn't think that I would have my parents' support as much. So I'll kind of need to be providing for myself, being able to grocery shop, spend money on food outside of the meal plan, getting gas, like all that stuff. I have to be really careful with, considering the fact that as a college athlete, I may not be able to have a job. So once again, it comes down to the budgeting. Prices are rising and falling. Personally, I'm going to another state, so figuring out like how much different things cost and all that in a different state, and like how much tax and all that. I really it's gonna have to be an environment where I think I'll have to adapt. So I think that'll definitely be interesting, and that budgeting will certainly become a huge part of my life when I'm considering the needs and the wants of for myself in my college career. And then another thing, this kind of goes along with the budgeting, but if I want to take a trip in college, like a spring break trip, fall trip, coming home for winter or whatever, or going somewhere for winter, like going up to a ski resort or something, I have to be able to spend my money and learn how to save and build up for that trip, maybe to set aside a portion of whatever money I can make, or whatever money I have each time that goes towards that trip. I think that'll be super important. And I also think that kind of fits into more of an opportunity cost thing. Like if I'm going on this trip, like how much money am I going to spend? What am I going to miss out on? Or, what is it worth? And then my fifth and final connection is that one of the biggest things now that's finally worked itself into the NCAA system is that college athletes can actually make money for themselves through marketing their own brand, if that makes sense. And I actually find it funny with the knowledge that I have now that in our capitalist kind of entrepreneurship forward type of economic system, that athletes haven't been able to do this, and in the past have actually gotten in trouble for doing it. So now that athletes can make money, off jerseys or off their own brands and sponsorships, or even YouTube. A lot of the college guys now are doing YouTube and making money that way while they're still playing. That kind of fits around the whole capitalist kind of idea where people can kind of make money for themselves and not have to worry as much. This one's definitely huge because, like I said earlier, athletes don't really have the time to work in college. So, if they can kind of work on their own time, and they can work on their own time and their own hours, and kind of like sell their own little thing, like their brand, like jerseys or like autographs or whatever, it can actually be a lot more efficient. Now, moving on from connections, we'll go into kind of some definitions of certain terms and how they apply to myself as a high school student currently. I've actually found that a few of these terms are a little bit harder to connect to than others, but we're going to start off with scarcity. The definition of scarcity is the state of is an object where like things are running low, like oil, like we could eventually run out of oil or coal or fossil fuels, and so the price jumps and those cost a lot more money. So there's basically a shortage of a resource. And as a high school student, scarcity is a little bit harder to come by just because, I live a pretty simple life. I eat food, go to school, play sports, and go home. I'm not really too focused on you know, the scarcity of certain objects, like in and around me, like certain resources. I mean, I don't really have to use that many resources, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, the biggest one I think that surrounds me is the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost definitely happens every single day. You know, opportunity cost isn't necessarily about spending money, but it's about the potential gain from other alternatives when an alternative is chosen. So, I mean, this could be like playing an hour of video games versus working out for an hour on the spin bike or bench press or whatever. So this not only happens, you know, when I go out to lunch or when I go home for lunch, but in sports, when I go home, when I have free time, and I choose to play video games instead of working on the cross, which unfortunately I do a lot and I probably shouldn't. You know, and just things like that. And then the third area of discussion that I wanted to cover is production possibility curves, or some refer to it as guns and butter. This one kind of fits in with this scarcity as in the fact that you know, I'm not really super involved in guns and butter. Like I said, as a high school student, I'm living quite a pretty simple life. I don't really, I'm not super involved in the economy. But anyway, like the definition, I guess, formal definition is the efficiency of the economy. So, you know, I mean, really the biggest place I see it is, you know, when prices start to rise, that means there's scarcity, but there's also, like, the efficiency of the economy is probably dropping a little bit, because we're spending more money on something else and we need to pay more taxes and do all this stuff. So I think that's really where it is. It's when, you know, prices rise and fall, based on kind of what's available. You know, if we produce more cars, then obviously we have less guns, you know, but if we're trying to produce more guns and less cars, you know, then the price of the cars are going to go up, and you know, we're paying more money towards the guns in the guns and butter. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of my Unit 1 wrap up. You know, those basic 3 ideas and then my 5 connections and a little bit about me. So thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of Econflix, you know, diving into the economy. Thank you.